Ezekiel chapter 5. وحتى بن آدم قحلك حرب حدا تعر هقلابيم تقاحنا لك. And thou, O son of man, take for thee a sword, a sharp sword, the razor of a barber, thou shalt take it for thee. وعبرت على رشك وعلى ذقانك, and thou shalt cause it to pass over thy head and upon thy beard. ولقحت لك مهذن مثقال وحلق تام, and thou shalt take for thee scales of weighing, and thou shalt apportion them or divide them. ثلثيت باور تبعير بتوك هائر كملوت يمد hamathor. The third, in the fire thou shalt burn in the midst of the city, as the fullness of the days of the siege. ولقحت الثلثيت بحرب سبيبوتها, and thou shalt take the third, thou shalt strike with the sword round about it, round about the city. وحشليتيت تزر لا روح وحرب هاريق أخرهم, and the third thou shalt scatter to the wind, and I will draw out a sword after them. ولقحت مثام معت بمسپار, and thou shalt take from them a few in number. وثأرت هوتام بخنافك, and thou shalt bind them in thy skirts, or in the flaps of thy garment, probably. ومهم عودتك, and from them still thou shalt take. وهشلكت هوتام التوك هايش, وشرفت هوتام بايش, and thou shalt throw them to the midst of the fire, and thou shalt burn them in the fire. ממנו تشهيش אל כל בית ישראל. From it shall come forth a fire to all the house of Israel. כה אמר Adonai Yahweh, thus Adonai Yahweh hath said, Dot Yerushalem betok hagoyim shamatiha. This is Jerusalem, in the midst of the nations I have set her. Usavivoteha arashot, and around her lands. Temer et mithapatai l'risha'a min hagoyim. And she has been rebellious against my judgments, for to do wickedness more than the nations. وَتَحُقُّوتَي مِنْ هَارَشْوت أَتَرْسَبِيبوتَهَا, and my statutes more than the countries which are around her. Ki b'mithpatai masu, because they have rejected my ordinances, my judgments. Uhokotai lo halakubahim, and my statutes, they did not walk in them. Lachen ko amar Adonai Yahweh. Therefore, thus Adonai Yahweh, the Lord Yahweh, hath said, Yarna hamanakem min hagoyim atrasivivotekem. Because your tumult is more than the nations which are around about you. B'hokotai lo halakatem, ve'etemithapatai lo ashitem. And in my statutes ye have not walked, and my judgments ye have not effectuated. Ukemithapate hagoyim atrasavivotechem lo ashitem. And like the judgments of the nations which are around you, ye have not effectuated. Laken ko amar Adonai Yahweh. Therefore, thus Adonai Yahweh hath said, Hinnani alaik gamani, behold me against thee, also I. Wa'ashita b'tochech mithapatim, le'ene hagoyim, and I shall effectuate in your midst, in thy midst, judgments before the eyes of the nations. Wa'ashiti bach et atraloha ashiti, ve'et atraloha eshe kamohu od ya'an kol to'avotayich, and I shall effectuate among thee, or in the midst of thee, all, I shall effectuate in the midst of thee what I have not effectuated, and what I shall not effectuate like it any more, because of all thy abominations. Laken avot yokaluvanim betokek. Therefore fathers shall eat sons in thy midst. Uvanim yokalu avotam, and sons shall eat fathers, their fathers. Wa'ashita vakashafatim, and I shall effectuate among thee, in thee judgments. Wazereti et kol sheritek lekol ruh, and I shall scatter all thy remnant to every wind. Lachen hayaninum Adonai Yahweh. Therefore, as I live, a declared thing of Adonai Yahweh. Imelo yaran et miqdashi timet, b'kol shikosayich, ub'kol to'avotayich. Except, or because because thou hast made unclean my sanctuary with all, thou hast made unclean with my sanctuary with all thy abominations, thy detestable things, and with all thy abominations. Ugamani egra v'lo ta'os aini, ugamani lo ehmol. Also I shall withdraw, and my eye shall not spare, and I shall not pity. Thelithetek, Badevra Yamutu, thy third in the pestilence they shall die. Ubararaba Yichalubatochek, and in the famine they shall be finished in thy midst. Wahathalithi the Baherb Yipalusavivotaik, and the third by the sword they shall fall around thee. Wahathalithi the Lukol Ruha Azar, Waherb Ariqa Acharehim, and the third to every wind I shall scatter, and the sword I shall unleash or draw out after them. Wikala hapi wahani hoti hamati bam wihin hamati, and I shall finish, and my anger shall finish, and I shall cause my wrath to rest among them, and I shall be comforted. وَيَدْعُوا ki hani Yahweh, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. Dibarati biqinahati, I have worded in my zeal. Bikaloti hamati bam, in my accomplishing my wrath among them. They shall know. Uhetnek lechorba uleherpa, and I shall give thee for a desolation and for a reproach. Bagoyim adrasavivotaik, among the nations which are around them. Le'ene kol over, before the eyes of every passerby. Wahayata herpa hugadufa, musar umshama lagoyim atrasavivotaik, and it shall be for a reproach and a taunt, an instruction and an astonishment to the nations which are around thee. Ba'ashoti ba'kshafatim ba'haf uvehema uvetoka hema aniya udibarati, in my effectuating in thee judgments, in anger and in wrath, and in the rebukes of wrath. I am Yahweh, I have spoken it. B'shalhi et hithe harab haraim bahem atr hayu l'mashhit atr ashalhahotam l'shahetkem ורב אוסף עליכם, ושברתי לכם מטה לכם, in my sending the arrows of famine, the evil arrows of famine among them, which are for destruction, which I shall send them to destroy you. And famine I shall gather upon you, and I shall break for you the staff of bread. وشلحتي عليكم رغب وحيا راعى وشكلوك والدبر وضام يعبر باك. And I shall send upon you famine and evil beast, and they shall bereave thee, and pestilence and blood shall pass among thee. وحرب أبي عليك, and a sword I shall bring upon thee. أني يهوه دبرتي, I Yahweh have worded it.